Good afternoon. I am happy to be able to meet with you to discuss your observation. How successful was your lesson? Was your intended aspect of learning met?
I feel my small group lesson introducing patterns to my students went well. I also thought the way I began the lesson with the simple introduction of patterns was great because it gave the students time to hear what each item was and gave them ample time to share their questions and answer to my questions. I feel with the beginning, middle, and end, along with paper and dot stickers as backup materials incorporated into my lesson, the students were able to explore the materials in their individual trays, interact with one another, and gave me enough time to give each child the individual instruction they needed, including my student with limited speech. As noted as an alternate strategy on my lesson plan, I encouraged her to repeat, and during this lesson, repeating was prompted and encouraged. Overall, I feel this lesson was a great introduction to patterns. I feel my large group lesson went well as well. The students were engaged and kept predicting what letter would come next. I liked that the students were shouting out other words with the beginning letter, sound, or simply the names of their peers that began with the same letter.
Comment on your classroom routine and classroom space.
The classroom procedures have been used daily since the first day of school, so the students are very aware of the classroom rules and the daily schedule. By having consistency in the classroom, to conduct themselves appropriately in an early childhood setting. The classroom is divided into learning areas, and each area is clearly defined and labeled. The students have open access to all classroom materials throughout the school day.
Did you depart from your initial plan?
I feel I did not depart from my initial plan. I transitioned the children from nap time and gathered with them on the carpet where they played with bubbles while all the other children awakened and my paraprofessional gathered the final few children. The children then had a brief moment to calm and gather themselves. Then I recalled what was said during our morning message before sending them to their tables for small group. I feel this transition was smooth and well organized. I feel my instruction delivery was great and followed the common introduction aspect in collaboration with High Scope and the New Jersey Preschool and Learning Standards. I actually used a lesson from Numbers Plus and modified it so I can introduce patterns to my students, which will lead to more lessons throughout the school year. I had all the materials needed for the lesson and individually sorted in trays for each child to have his or her own materials to use. I had my own materials as well. Overall, I feel the small and large group went well.
Is there any way you reflect or analyze your teaching?
During my prep time, I reflect on the things that went well with the lesson, the things that did not go so well, and the changes that will enhance the lesson for the next time. I use a notebook to log my thoughts, which also includes things that I need to follow up with to strengthen the lesson. Children who struggled with the lesson will be documented so that I may follow up with them to ensure that they benefit from the information provided and that they will benefit from the follow-up activity.
Well, I think you did an amazing job. Your transitions were flawless, and each student was clearly engaged throughout both small and large group. I enjoyed seeing you allow the students to explore their counters, first prior to giving them paper and dot stickers to create pattern on paper. I also enjoyed watching how you engaged everyone in an alphabet movement activity. The cards were large enough for everyone to see on the entire carpet. The students knew exactly what to do after the lesson was over, so I commend you on your classroom management. I also want to share how beneficial it is that you were able to translate for your students and take your time with your limited speech student and encourage her to speak and expand her vocabulary. Lastly, I also like how both after small and large group was over, you call the children back and you explain to one student their pattern. Do you have any self recommendations?
I would definitely like to incorporate more higher order thinking questions. With the students being so young and so many of them speaking at the same time doesn't allow time to ask as many questions as I would like.
I also recommend for you to build on your integration of depths of knowledge and Bloom's taxonomy. Is there anything else you would like to add?
No.
So do you agree on incorporating more higher order thinking questions into your daily routine?
Yes, agreed.
How about we meet again in about 2 weeks to discuss how you are coming along with your higher order thinking questions?
Sure.
Thank you for being such a great educator. Continue to support your ELL students in your classroom. Utilize your knowledge of students and integrate it into a lesson. For example, modification, flexibility, and support your children as needed. Continue to display a variety of children's current work, which are connected to the learning outcomes by posting explanations and dictations of the activity, dated and relate them to the New Jersey preschool learning standards and our core advantage. Continue to engage students in meaningful activities and ensure that children's interests are included in instructional planning and all 5 ingredients of active learning, materials, choice, manipulation, child's language, and thought and scaffolding are incorporated.
I will. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much for meeting with me.